Hi there everyone, welcome back to my channel. Now you may or may not have seen on Facebook that recently I attended the regional for Final Fantasy TCG at Calamity Games in Hatfield, and I happened to do rather well in it and I happened to win. So thank you very much to everyone who sent me supportive messages on Facebook and that sort of thing, but I did want to give a couple of quick shout outs before I go into the experience and the deck profile for the deck that I ran. And I want to say a big thank you to Calamity Games itself because it was a wonderful day. I really enjoyed myself. The store was very accommodating. If you're ever near the Hatfield region in the UK, then I very strongly encourage you to go and check them out. It's a really lovely place and it was just very, very homely. So thank you very much for that. I also want to give a quick shout out to my friend Jared, who also attended the event and actually helped me get to the event and back. Without you I couldn't have gone and I couldn't have been able to attend at all. So I have to give a quick shout out to you as well. And just a big shout out to everybody who attended the event, really. It was really, really good fun. I had such a good time. But yes, if you want to check out the deck that I played and you want to check out the experiences that I had while playing the deck itself, then stay tuned and keep on watching. Before we get started, as usual, I will leave all of the links to my social links in the description box below, including my Discord channel where we all chat about TCG, Opera Omni and all sorts of stuff, Twitch channel, Patreon channel, all sorts of things. But also I want to remind you all that there's still a week left for you guys to enter the giveaway for the promo Lasswells that I'm giving away currently. So if you follow the link in the description box for that as well, then you have a chance of winning one of those for yourself. So I chose to run Mono Water, or as I've called it, Mono Bubbles, for the event, and that's because there are some cards in Opus 8 that got released for this deck archetype that are exceptionally powerful, and I really wanted to showcase some of these cards. Now, there's a lot of cards in here that anyone who's played FFTCG for a while knows are going to be in a Mono Water deck. Things like Cloud of Darkness, Lena, Layla Viking, Cagnazzo. There's a lot of typical staple cards for this deck. So what from Opus 8 makes it such a massive threat now as opposed to what it was before? Well, the first card I want to touch on is Nichol. Now, this card is dumb. Plain and simple. This card is just insane. You being able to set up a 2-card combo of just literally dropping a Nichol and then a Cagnazzo is almost enough to board wipe your opponent pretty much at any given time. I think that he's just really strong, and the fact that he can buff all your water forwards by 1,000 actually shouldn't be ignored either, because there were numerous times when I played during the event where people it took them a while to realise that he could do that. So if you've got a Waka down and you're playing Lenas and Knights and stuff like that, it's actually very powerful. But honestly, just having access to going Nichol, wipe out your aggro cards, or Nichol Cagnazzo, wipe out practically everything, is too powerful to pass up. Honestly, I only ran 2 in here, but I want to find room for a 3rd. It's that good. Now the next card I want to talk about from Opus 8 for Mono Water is Leviathan. This Leviathan so did not need to happen for this deck. It's literally just if you have a Una out, this card is a 2 CP kill spell. Like on EX, it's too good. Like it made me knock Kucha Lane down to 2, and Kucha Lane is an insane card. But because Kucha Lane, you can't control how much damage it's gonna, or how much power it's gonna reduce, I found that like having access to Leviathan, who I can control how much power he's gonna drop by just establishing my own board as opposed to relying on my opponent dulling their cards, it's just so powerful. The number of times, and it's good at literally any time, and the later the game gets, the better the card gets. In combat, it's good to drop a massive guy down to blocking range for the simplest things. In late game, you can just kill things outright with it, and it's just an insane card. So honestly, there's no reason not to run 3 Leviathan in a Mono Water deck at this point. And then the other card from Opus 8 that I was really, really impressed by, and actually won me a large number of my games, is Veritas of the Dark. This card is crazy powerful. Like, it's just more removal, and because you're able to wipe out so much, there's so much removal in this deck already. You have Cagnazzo, you have Nichol, you have Cloud of Darkness, you have Famfrit, Leviathan, Kuchi. You have so much removal in this deck that Veritas just kind of exemplifies it, but your opponent doesn't want to kill it, because if your opponent kills it, then they're going to lose something else, and it's just the value that he accumulates is amazing. If you have a Famfrit out and your opponent only has 1 forward, it's backbreaking, because you kill Veritas of the Dark, and your opposing forward, and because Veritas of the Dark's on death effect is for characters, not forwards, you're going to take out one of their backups while you're at it, and that is absolutely crippling to most opponents. So now you've got so many choices with Mono Water. You could go for light and dark slot anyway. You could go Yuri, you could go Veritas of the Dark, you could go for Sawyer. If you're doing a monsters build, you can go Kefka. There's so many good light and dark cards for this archetype, but Veritas really impressed me at the weekend. I'm running 2 copies of Opus 8 Zidane in here. Now, I'm really unsure on this card, to be honest. I didn't feel like the turn 1 play for Zidane was ever really useful. I did it once and he got 2 hits off, and yes, it did help me win the game. But there are so many matchups in which you just don't want to play him. If you know you're going up against a Mono Lightning, playing a turn 1 Zidane is practically asking for suicide. Like, you're going to get Janaid, you're going to get Outsided, you could get Black Maged, and that's really bad. There's so many outs to a turn 1 Zidane that I just don't think that it's worth running. That being said, he proved to be a really useful Lena target. He was really, really good at warding, or being a decoy, basically, because the second your opponent sees a Zidane, they're going to do everything in their power to kill him. And the amount of times where people would overpay to kill Zidane meant that they're not paying to kill anything else. Because I got him for free off of a Lena, this was really good. Though, getting a Zidane instead of a Knight, there's always going to be that choice, but I want to have a second Lena target in my Mono Water deck, aside from Knight. Whether that be Zidane, Opus 8 Garnet is an option if you really dread Ice, or if Ice is really prevalent in your meta because it comes in and it can activate a character, and it has an EX burst, which is kind of handy, or you could go with a classic Fame Mimic Go-Go if you just want a little bit of extra power. But I found Zidane to perform, but I couldn't say he overperformed that much. He was good, but not great. So I think that it's a very malleable option. I only ran 2, so the S ability wasn't all that useful. I think if you ran a full 3, you'll end up with him when you don't want him. He's a really odd card, and I can't quite figure out whether I want to continue running him or not. The other card that I felt really underperformed for me was Luna Freya. Luna Freya reads really well, but I found that the only thing that I ever wanted to use Luna Freya on was either Lena or Tidus. Now, people sit there and go, oh, but it's really good for bringing back Cloud of Darkness and stuff. And I was like, yes, but my opponent would never kill Cloud of Darkness if I had a Luna Freya out, which sounds dumb and like a good thing, but what they do instead is kill everything around her and then kill her, because then it's not worth bringing back with Luna Freya. And because having 5 backups is so important in Water, because you want to get your Lenas down, you want to be able to play Cloud of Darkness without discarding, you want to be able to just get all these plays off, losing a backup to resurrect a guy is actually quite crippling to you. It's quite negative, and it's a 4 CP backup that doesn't do anything on entry. So I kind of like it, but I think it needs a different deck. It's not as good as I hoped it would be. Now, I do want to take one moment to talk about our Lord and Saviour, Tidus. This card won me so many games, it was crazy. Now, honestly, I was unsure about it. I mean, I've always liked Tidus. I've always liked our Tidus. He's so my kind of playstyle, because I love that second guess, like making your opponent second guess what to do because they're not sure if you have something or not, is brilliant. I love cards like this. The restriction on Tidus is there for a reason. It's because you're, at worst, if you leave 3 backups open and your opponent's not sure if you've got it or not, they could attack you, think that you don't, or they might even know you play it, because not everyone plays Tidus in Mono Water. But you have a 9k blocker that your opponent doesn't know you have, which is really powerful, because if you kill something with it, you've then got an attacker for your next turn. If you're against Ice, the reason I'm not running White Mage in this deck from Opus 8 is because I'm running Tidus. Because if you're running Ice, they think that they're safer than they are. If they start dulling and freezing all your cards, at one point I played a game against Fire and Ice where my Zidane were dull and frozen. So I just played a Tidus and then reactivated him and then attacked with him and drew 2 more cards. It's like there's so many options for Tidus, it's amazing. And because your opponent's never quite sure whether you've got it or not, you could play really good mind games with him as well. There was one point where I was against somebody and I attacked with 3 forwards. I was only on 2 damage, so it was safe for me to do this. I attacked with 3 forwards, left myself wide open, but I discarded a card to play my 5th backup and left my other backups open. Kind of, because everyone at this point knows that I'm running Tidus. So I discarded a card and played my backup. The rest of my hand was dead. My hand was absolutely dead. It was all backups and nothing useful. And my opponent didn't attack me because he feared the Tidus. Because why would he discard a card to play a backup if you wanted to leave his backups open? Do you see what I mean? You can play these really cool mind games using Tidus. My matchups throughout the day were Mono Wind, Fire and Ice, Mono Lightning, Mono Water Mirror Match, and then my top 4 cup was Fire and Ice and Mono Water again. So I found that Mono Wind is an interesting one because I still think that people are feeling out how to get that deck to work, and as obviously as somebody who's run this deck quite a lot, I really want to kind of gauge where it's going. I think you lean heavily into the Crystal Chronicles things. I don't think Aerith is actually that great, to be quite honest. Fina is cool. I'm not sure how necessary she is. The only problem I have with Mono Win right now is the way that people are running it. Everything relies on Yuri. Everything. So if you get rid of Yuri every time it comes out, then basically you need more threats in Mono Win than just Yuri and a free Bartz. Fina can fulfill that role, so I think that, you know, that's a thing, but I'm not sure what else you do with it. The Fire and Ice deck I played was actually really scary. You know, Lasswell really overperformed in that matchup, and I thought he was very strong. Dark Fina was played a lot as well. You know, I really did quite like it. You know, Rich, if you're watching this, then, you know, shout out to you as well, because this is who I played in the final. And yeah, Dark Fina was good, but I often found that you know, when it went off, you're still just left with a 9k guy and maybe something else if you're doing Phoenix off of it. It was good, and I want to see more from it, basically. The Mono Water Mirror match was against a friend of mine, Martin, who was also playing Veritas of the Dark in his deck. So I think people are cottoning on to the fact that Veritas of the Dark is a really good card, and I'm probably going to make him my card of the week this week, because I didn't make one last week. I just honestly am very impressed with Veritas in general. And then Mono Lightning was a bit... It was difficult for me to gauge what was going on with that one, because he didn't seem to draw backups, and you know, it was a little bit of a luck-sacky thing for me. And then, you know, top 4 and top 2 was against Mono Water again, and the only game I lost was once in top 4, once in final, and I got decked out in Water Mirror match, and then I just drew no backups at all for my second game. But the thing with this deck is that once it establishes its backups, you're just good to go. I'm only running 16 backups in here, which sounds like too few, but there's so much draw power in here through Viking, Porum, just so much that you can use to draw cards that you'll get there. Like, even if you're a bit behind on backups, there are safe plays that you can make turn 1 that are threatening. You can play a Porum turn 1, and then you can fish for a backup. You can play the Zidane turn 1, and then that's an okay play, because it forces your opponent to have to do something. If they do kill him, it's a problem, but if you had no backups in your hand to begin with, then you were in trouble to begin with, so you might as well do something to try and save yourself. But everything in here had a purpose. The only cards in here that I wish I could change would be Luna Freya, which I'd probably change into a second Merlwib, to be honest. It would increase my EX count, and it helps with those turn 1 plays just to get to backups quickly. And maybe I would change Zidane, drop him to 1 maybe, possibly drop him to 0, and include a different Lena target, whether that be Garnet. Larsa is an option as well, because if it helps ward off the Wind, Alhanalem plays, Chilinka plays, things like that. It's not the best kind of Minwu-esque card in the world, but it's a free card, and it does boost power on block. So I do quite like Larsa. But let me know in the comments below how you think you would change this deck, or whether you would keep it exactly the same. I hope that my reasonings behind each of the cards that I'm playing works for you. But that's going to be it for this video. As I've said before, check out all the social links in the description box below if you want to come and chat with me. Don't forget to check out my Patreon page as well if you want early access to all of my videos, including this one. And don't forget to check out the Lasswell giveaway as well. There's a link in the description box for that. And I really encourage you guys to enter that and share the channel out. Subscribe to the channel, obviously. Check me out on Twitch. It's all in those giveaways. So thank you ever so much for watching, and I hope you've really enjoyed the video. Thank you again to Calamity Games for hosting such a lovely day, and that's going to be it. See you guys soon. Bye.